Hey, I'm Matt Thompson, and thank you for getting this far in our BPR process. And I want to take the time here to explain to you one of the things that we go through in our BPR sessions. So as I'm sitting there and I'm interviewing with the client, and we're talking about where they may have some different inefficiencies or what their processes look like, I'll stop and document as they describe it to me. And what I'm looking for there are areas that they may have some problems that are introduced into their process. So as we go through that, this is a real world example of some BPR inefficiencies in the form of an RMA credit for a return product, repair, ship it back to the customer. Everybody has this process that they need to do. This is a great example of where a client did not go through the proper training of their ERP package to know what the efficient steps were to doing this. So by going through this process, I was able to identify the inefficiencies, and by identifying and eliminating those inefficiencies, they saved time. And that time was now regained to their customer service team, that they can now spend time being proactive for their customers, for their service departments, for their production team, everything else. And time is money, folks. So as we work through this and we look, they were introducing this process with a purchase order and then receiving that off of that purchase order. And the reasoning for this is they said, well, how else do you get cost into the system? Well, an RMA process has that built into it. But then they thought they needed the RMA to produce that customer credit. Well, that very well may be true, but there are other ways to produce that credit. But as I'm going through it, I've got my purchase order to a receipt to inventory, and then they're issuing it from inventory to this repair job. As I started looking at this process, I started to identify the fact that we don't need to do this, or this. That those are transactions that take a lot of time, they take a lot of extra clearance in the software if you're going to do it the right way. So now we're getting multiple departments involved and engaged for basically wasted transactions. So now as we go through, if we just introduce a simple concept of a case, we can launch a case and say, you know what, I need an RMA from that case, and with another click, I can create the sales order to return the product back to the customer. Now I've got a case that generates an RMA. The RMA creates that credit request. The credit request flows over to my accounts receivable department to actually process it. And then I take that RMA, and when I receive it, I just simply disposition it to a repair job, and I follow my normal production process I would as if it's any other job in my software. Now I don't have 3 completely wasted steps that went all the way across my organization. We identified this on the spot, on the whiteboard. They made the corrections before I left on day 3. And they saved that amount of time just from going through the BPR process with me. I'm Matt Thompson with the EstesGroup. Let's work together to make your business more efficient.